Hey everyone, so this isn't the best angle, but we're going to install the diesel heater. It's under the corner of the front bench. So I've made the marks for where things are going to line up there. You can see that back piece is where the fuel pump wire is going to go, and then you can see the screw holes. I'll be cutting it bigger around the exhaust and smaller around the intake and wire spot. So I'll drill that now. Okay, so I got the hole cut. A little hard to videotape in this corner. I did mine a little differently than everybody else. The exhaust side is wider and the intake side is narrower. So that plate's gonna sit like that. So first things first, we'll put our plate on. And slide this on. Show you that goes on pretty well. So with that on, and then put our little gear clamp they give us. That should slide all the way down. I'm gonna be right at the bottom, but pretty close. So now I'm gonna bolt the plate on. Okay, so we got this valve on for our fuel line. All the bolts. I'm actually adding lock washers to these. These have the chance to fall out under the trailer, and I just don't feel comfortable not putting these lock washers on. I'm not really going to get in the way. Just going to stop these bolts from falling out. Okay, so the fourth one's in. We'll get our wrench and we'll tighten those up. Looks like I made the mistake myself and forgot to put the power line through the hole, so I gotta take it all back off and start again. Okay, so this one here is the wire for the fuel pump. It's wrapped in some special tape, which we will make sure we wrap it as well. So this actually goes through this hole. That little line goes through this little opening here. That'll go down to our fuel pump, which is located below the trailer. And I'm going to silicone this in here because it feels like it could cut it over time. But for now, we just have to get that through. And now we can reassemble everything. Just make sure we can still pull that through. Like I said, it's not the greatest feeling, but now with that together, we can add our intake, our exhaust, and our gear clamps. We can put our fuel line on, and then we're ready to install it in the trailer. It's pretty quick. Like I said in my last video, I don't know if you can see this, but it's got crunched. It's pretty thin, but we'll get it on there, and we'll make it work. Might have to just work it on there a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to get pliers here because it's kind of rounded the edge. Maybe flare it a little bit.
Yeah, well, you will. You'll be up there for good.
Oh, there we go. Much better. So with that on there, gear clamp on there.
We'll have to see.
And I won't put the intake on yet because I want to see where my gear clamp sits and make sure it sits, halfway up this piece here, and I'll just reference this one when I'm tightening up this one. And then when I put the intake hose on, I can reference this gear clamp to make sure I have my gear clamp correct height on this side. Tighten up this gear clamp. It's actually not going to sit this way, it's going to sit around the back because I don't want this over here because I don't have room. But we'll put it off to the back here. Make sure we're at a good height. Make sure we're getting some of this exhaust pipe coming out. Make sure we're down tight. That's on there. That's not coming off. Now we'll do our intake pipe. Clamp slipped. Yeah. Don't think this is a good gear clamp. We're gonna have to switch it. These gear clamps that come with it are not very good quality, I'll just tell you that. This one I pre-checked, I know it works, but hopefully it doesn't strip. Just snug. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I got my exhaust pipe, my intake pipe. I also added my air filter just because it's easier to do here. Now we can feed it through the floor and bolt it on. Just so you know, on the floor I used a barbecue paint. It's good up to like 1,000 degrees Celsius, and I painted all the wood around the top, so where this is bolting to, I painted all that wood, and then on the edges of the 3/4 inch plywood I painted that, and then on the bottom there is metal on the bottom, however I did paint it anyway. Just to keep the heat away. Anything will help. So now we can install this. As you can see, there's the barbecue high temp spray paint that I used, and again sprayed the bottom just like the top and the sides. So now we can slide the unit right through that hole. So you can see we used some high temp silicone all the way around the base, used some 1-inch screws and mounted it to the floor. Now we're going to go under and do the fuel tank and fuel pump and filter, and can get that all connected up. Okay, so we're under the trailer now. You can see that red silicone, that's high temp silicone. We have our intake, fresh air, have our exhaust, fuel line, and this is our power for our fuel pump. And that is all going to run over here. We'll have our fuel pump up here, which will go down, and that piece of wood will house our fuel tank. So coming out of that, we'll have our fuel filter, which comes over here to our fuel pump, comes underneath this one beam and up into our unit. So we're gonna drill the hole right now and mount the fuel pump. Gonna have that fuel pump on a 30-degree angle. So just like that. We want to maybe get it a little higher. Trying to get it. So I think we're gonna go right about there with our screw hole. Line it up one more time, just over this wire, but enough room that we can run it, not have any sharp turns. Perfect. There we go, we got our hole. Grab the fuel pump here. Got washers as well. Make sure it's on that 30-degree angle. Washer for both sides. There we go. We're just going to get a number 3 Robertson square head and tighten this up, and that should be this mounted. Okay, so I got my fuel pump attached. It's on the 30-degree angle. Fits perfect in this little cavity here. So now we're going to hook the power up to the fuel pump. Slides on, and that little bracket up top locks everything in place. Make sure it's on all the way. Once I'm done, I'm going to be taping this all up just to protect it. But that's it there. From our fuel pump, there's the air filter, which we've just zap strapped in place, which runs up into the bottom of the unit. And we've mounted our exhaust, which comes over here we put a bracket on here just to hold the pipe. And then we did a bracket with the muffler. So we're just finishing up the holder for the gas tank, and then we'll be able to get it all running. So now we're going to put our pipe for our hot air. It's going to go up in the corner here. Because I don't have a 3-inch hole saw, we luckily have some old school tools that we're going to use to cut this 3-inch hole. Yeah, the board's not very thick, so shouldn't be too bad. So we just installed the heat pipe out of the wall of the front bench. So that went on really well with our old school hand crank 3-inch hole. And that went in really well. This swivels around if you need it. So that's a nice option. So we're going to finish up the fuel tank on the outside, little case that we're building for it, and then clean up all of this wiring. You obviously get a lot of wiring with these things, and our connection isn't very far away. So clean it all up and hopefully get it running shortly. A little hard to see, but mounted in behind the spare tire. It's a tight fit, but it fits perfectly. We are just bolting the box to the frame on the front, and luckily at the back where the spare tire is, there's a plate, so we drilled through the plate and put screws up into the 2x4. But on the front, we're just bolting it down, and then we'll have a piece of wood inside the box that'll cover these bolts at the top. Side view of that box. So we'll put the gas tank in, we'll put the top on, and we'll finish off by putting a side on it. There is the LCD screen for the heater. It works great. It's a little hard to figure out, but once you get it figured out, it's pretty basic. It's also got high altitude settings that are automatic. The cord runs there, which I'll strap to the wall. And then there's the heater. Still have to clean up all the wiring, but it's all done. There's the vent. Can't even put your hand by it, it's too hot, which is awesome, even on low. So that's the installation of the heater. Okay, so it's on. Fuel tank, nice protective box in front of the trailer, and we'll head inside. So there it's all installed. We're getting really hot already here, like I can't put my hand there, it's going to burn. Just burning off anything that's inside the unit. And then we'll clean up all the wiring and we should be good to go. So here's underneath the trailer. We actually had to disconnect the fuel line. Here's the one coming from the gas tank. We switched to different clips. We went from the factory clip on the left to this silver clip on the right. And we still can't get our gas lines to seal. They seal everywhere, but here there's a little dribble. Get a little dribble of fuel. We tightened these ones up and it got better. So I'm going to take all these out, I'm going to recut them, shove them back in, tighten these up and see if we can make a difference. This is not where the fuel filter normally is. The fuel filter is normally underneath the tank over here. But due to us taking it apart, we had to shove it up here because it's raining. And make sure to smash a like and subscribe. I'm out here in the rain getting soaked, but I want to make some videos, so you guys can do that. That would be great. Here's where the unit actually comes out of the trailer. That connection up there for the fuel line is not leaking. Exhaust goes back and out the side. There's our air intake. Runs up to the unit, nice and clean. That's our fuel pump in there. But if anyone can tell me why my connections are leaking, please let me know. It's frustrating. I'm trying everything, and I'd just like to get it fixed. We're planning on going camping in a week, so any pointers or help would be appreciated. Thank you, and I'll catch you on the next one.